Besides that, it's going to cost so much money to get him out of town. Most teams have very little cap room as it is. The Bears, if they cut Cutler, they're already 18 to 20 million in the hole that they can't use. That's not including the 6 or 7 million that they'd have to pay a quarterback to come and play for the team. That doesn't include a backup. And I don't see David Fales right now as the answer to the primary backup quarterback's role. Not right now. Do you really think the Bears should be investing in $28 million in a quarterback position, $30 million in a quarterbacking position, with one quarterback playing elsewhere, another quarterback that's not that much better than the quarterback that's playing elsewhere, and the backup quarterback that might not be able to throw a pass too far? Hold your horses. Let's give this man, the new fella that they hired, John Fox, a moment to sit down and do what he does best. And that's build a winner. And here's how you can build a winner with the Chicago Bears. First and foremost, fix the secondary. Kyle Fuller, pretty good cornerback. I've heard on local radio here today, Hub Arkish, a guy who I greatly respect. I respect his football knowledge. He's very knowledgeable, has been around the game for years. He views Kyle Fuller as a safety. I can't disagree with that. I'm not necessarily all for it, but I can't disagree with that. Hub Arkish knows more football in his pinky finger than I know in my entire body. Or than I have in my entire body. See, that's how fired up I am. I am messing up what I'm supposed to say. But that's passion. That being said, you keep Kyle Fuller at cornerback, you have to play him closer to the receiver. So that eliminates all possibilities of him standing 15 yards back from the receiver that he's supposed to be defending. That's too far back. That's giving the receiver too much room to catch the ball and gives Kyle Fuller very little space to cut off between him, the receiver, and the ball. And this is the type of defense that the Bears have played since Lovie Smith was the coach. Tim Jennings, same thing. So you want to get rid of the space and the zone defense that the Bears show in the secondary. Have those fellas play press coverage, bump at the line of scrimmage for a change, give the receiver something to think about, make them alter their routes, do something to disrupt the passing game. That's first and foremost. And that's just with the team as is. Okay? During the draft, some people are clamoring for safety help. I want them to get a safety too. I think Chris Conte and Ryan Mundy, they could be okay, very serviceable, but they need to get younger in that position, younger with a lot of upside. That being said, picking number 7 in the draft is a little too high for a safety, but it's not that high for a cornerback. Tim Jennings got exposed. I like Tim Jennings as a player. I like the fact that he plays with heart despite not being as tall as some of the other players in the secondary. He's listed at 5'9", 5'10". He gives up a lot of height when he goes up against opposing receivers. So I admire him and I admire his game. But it's time to put him in the slot, make him the nickel cornerback, have Kyle Fuller on one side, have a young stud on the other side, bring back Charles Peanut Tillman as the cornerback guru / cornerback whisperer, and bring in at least one safety. I'm not sure if Chris Conte's going to be brought back. No one knows that right now. Ryan Pace has already said that he has not fully evaluated the status of the team and the roster. But a safety must get drafted. Number 7's too far, too high. The other thing that they have to do if they want to compete right away, and I don't know what Mark Trestman thought, and I'm assuming Mel Tucker just kind of went along with his head coach. Jonathan Bostic and Christian Jones played out of position the entire season. So did Shea McClellan. But I know Bostic and Jones played out of position the entire season. If you flip-flop those guys, make one the strong or the Sam, and make the other the will linebacker, allow each guy to play to their strengths and their abilities, plug in someone up the middle, perhaps Shea McClellan, although that's an experiment that failed miserably. If they can find a serviceable middle linebacker, unless there's one on the roster already, the linebackers, I'm not too worried about. Just flip-flop those guys and play them to their strengths. The defensive line, you got to keep Stephen Paya. You have to. Now, I'm not saying break the bank for him, but last year was his best season by far. And if he can prove to be healthy, he has Pro Bowler written all over him. Jay Ratliff, you got to keep him because you got to have an old sage to coach up the young guys, and Will Sutton and Eagle Ferguson, who, although they didn't dominate in their rookie seasons, they had those moments where you can sit back and say, wow, they actually have some talent. Especially Ferguson. I thought Ferguson was much better than advertised. His awareness, his ability to get to the quarterback from the inside, the thought process that goes into his mind as he says, well, I can't get to the quarterback, but let me stick my arm up. Let me deflect this pass if I can. When he was wreaking havoc up the middle, the Bears line looked good. That's a position of need. They have guys already in place, but they may have to draft another one. Willie Young, welcome to the league. Although you tore your ACL, best season of your career. And I'm almost certain he's going to be retained, as well as he should be. You know, Jared Allen. Jared Allen played out of position most of the season. I don't know what Mark Trestman saw, but to have Jared Allen stand up instead of kneel down and rush opposing quarterbacks from the edge like he is trained to do and he's skilled for, they decided to have him play out of position. Now, part of that might be based on the fact that injuries hampered the Bears' defensive line early. That being said, I mean, I'm not an NFL coach. And not too many of you all listening out there are NFL coaches either. But we can't be wrong, right? On offense, offensive side of the ball, I have a very strong opinion, and it's not a popular one. Last year in the draft, I felt the Bears should have went with a speed receiver in the first round. I liked a couple of the guys. One in particular was Kelvin Benjamin. I felt like the Bears needed a speed guy that can get separation from opposing cornerbacks and safeties. Because for as good as Brandon Marshall is and as reliable as his hands are, Alshon Jeffrey, the same thing, neither one of them can gain separation as well as one would like. Sure, they can catch jump balls, but they don't have that element of speed that you need in order to have teams actually fear you. Look at Green Bay. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams. Each one of those guys are speedy receivers with above average hands. Three guys. They're top three guys. The Bears, great hands, not enough speed. They needed to draft that guy last season. They need to draft one this season. And I hope that if they do draft one this season, it is a player who can also handle the return game duties as well, because field position is real important. You cannot have your team, your offense, start on the 20-yard line on every possession. I can understand doing kickoffs and how NFL has ruined the game regarding the kickoffs. I get it. The 20 is okay. But during situations where there are punts, you got to have a guy that's explosive out there. You got to have a guy that's fast and can break tackles, that can alter the game with a couple of jukes and jives. The Bears were missing that element this past season. They need to get that element back. That, you move a couple of parts on the offensive line. Jermon Bushrod, he should be the right tackle. Cal Long should be the left tackle. You draft the guard. Hopefully you'll get Matt Slauson back and healthy. Roberto Garza, who wasn't excellent, but he wasn't horrible either at center. And you build your offensive line with a couple of developmental roster moves here and there, some in the draft, some in free agency. And voila, the Bears are back, at least competing for a playoff spot. Now, something that I've said, and I'm going to keep saying, the Bears are closer to 10-6 than they are to 2-14. And that's even with how horrible they played this season. And this is the worst season that I've witnessed as a Bears fan. And I've seen some miserable seasons. But I mean, just with how the team went about business, you can tell that there was no life in this team. That they didn't care whether or not they won or they lost. They may not say that. And no player ever wants to be considered a loser. That to me, that's career suicide. But the life was just not in them. It just was not. This is the Outside Analysis radio show. When we come back, I will talk about what's going on with the Bulls. They got handled again, y'all. I don't know what to do. Also, I want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers and what's happening with LeBron. Should David Blatt be kept? Should David Blatt be fired? And there's a real important football game or two that'll be happening tomorrow. I will be previewing the NFC and AFC championship games when I return. This is the Outside Analysis. I'll be right back.